documents from a private individual who I might add tried to destroy the evidence.
So I guess the question is, I guess the answer is no.
Since 2 days ago.
The answer is no.
The answer is since 2 days ago, I have not.
I'm not asking the question about since 2 days ago, although nothing.
That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeking these materials from the White House.
Gentleman from California is known for
months, Mr. Chairman, for months.
I'm not a mind.
All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. If you care about the Constitution, accountability, and stopping the political weaponization of government, you're going to want to watch this one all the way through. United States. What we just watched is another perfect example of how Washington Democrats love to play procedural games, twist Supreme Court rulings, and suddenly pretend they care about norms only when it serves their political agenda. And once again, Chairman Jim Jordan is right in the middle of it, doing exactly what voters sent him to Congress to do. Here's what's really going on in this video.
Gentleman from California withdraws point of order who seeks recognition. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, much as I don't like certain parts of the Mazars decision, it clearly applies in this case, and the committee is required to engage with the White House in order to seek an accommodation over materials held by a private party, as they were in the Mazars case, and seek to resolve this with the White House. So I would ask unanimous consent that we enter into the record your correspondence to the White House.
Without objection.
Seeking to engage them to resolve this. And I thank the chairman for not objecting. Can you produce that correspondence to the White House asking for accommodation on these materials you sought by this subpoena?
First time they reached out to us was 2 days ago.
Yes, and of course the author expressed the concern that these materials may implicate interests of the executive. I think that was weeks ago. But having admitted without dissent your correspondence to the White House, can you produce that for us where you have sought an accommodation, where you've sought to work this out with the White House? Can you share that with us since that is now part of the record?
Well, I thought you had it. You wanted to enter it into the record.
I do. I presume that, knowing your responsibilities, you have sought to engage the White House. So,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Produce the
recognized for point of order.
I think a unanimous consent request to submit something to the record is where the person who's asking for the floor is the proponent of submitting information that member has. I don't believe it's appropriate to ask a unanimous consent request to engage in a colloquy over discovering information or obtaining information from another member of the committee.
Great, and that's why I said that no objection to the unanimous consent request. If the gentleman from California wants to talk about that and present it to us, God bless him. He's allowed to do it. So it's 5 minutes.
I would like clarification from the chairman. Does this mean that there is no correspondence from you to the White House seeking accommodation on this material?
We've had all kinds of correspondence with the White House on this broad subject relative to the Zwanitzer and the letter we got 2 days ago. We've not corresponded with the White House yet. And we will, we may. That's a decision we'll make.
And you have not corresponded with the White House seeking accommodation ever since the author who you are subpoenaing and seeking to hold in contempt articulated the view that there was executive interest and potential privilege over this material. You haven't sought to engage over the weeks since you received that communication?
We have not engaged with the White House since the letter on the 25th of this month, 2 days ago.
And prior to that time, did you engage the White House in an effort to obtain these materials?
All kinds of engagements with our counsel and counsel, both
I'm talking about
the Justice Department and White House with our counsel over the last several months relative to the special counsel
this subpoena, Mr. Chairman. Did you engage with the White House at any time in the last several weeks since issuing this subpoena, the one you want to hold this witness in contempt for? Did you ever engage with the White House in an effort to accommodate, an effort to reach an agreement, an effort to prevent this from having to be litigated? Did you ever write any correspondence, make any call to the White House seeking to engage, seeking to get these materials that you're seeking from the author instead from the White House? Did you ever do that, Mr. Chairman?
We're seeking documents from a private individual who I might add tried to destroy the evidence.
So I guess the question is, I guess the answer is no.
Since 2 days
ago. The answer is no.
The answer is since 2 days ago, I have not.
I'm not asking the question about since 2 days ago, although nothing
That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeking these materials from the White House.
California is known
for months, Mr. Chairman. For months.
I'm not a mind reader.
I thank you for making a very clean record for any court that will look at this.
The gentleman from North Carolina said
accommodation
months ago the White House could have raised the concern, and they didn't.
These documents, because your first move, of course, is to go right to contempt. Ironically, of course, for a chairman who was in contempt of his own subpoena.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
We're still waiting for you to testify and meet the obligations of your own subpoena, Mr. Chairman. But nevertheless, I appreciate you're making such a clean record for any court in this case that you have never sought an accommodation, never written to the White House, never called the White House, never had a communication with the White House in order to obtain these materials as part of an accommodation. Thank you for that very clean record for the court, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?
A Democrat from California tries to box Jim Jordan in by invoking the Mazars decision, claiming that the committee is required to seek an accommodation with the White House before subpoenaing documents, even when those documents are held by a private individual. It sounds official and legalistic, but when you actually listen closely, the argument doesn't hold up. This subpoena is directed at a private citizen, not the White House. Jim Jordan makes that point clearly and repeatedly, and he's absolutely right. The Democrats want people to believe that the moment someone merely claims executive interest, Congress must immediately stop and ask the White House for permission to investigate. That's not how congressional oversight works, and it's not what the Constitution says. If that were the case, no serious investigation of executive power would ever happen. What they're really upset about is that Jim Jordan didn't let this investigation get buried under endless delays. They want accommodation, because accommodation often means slow walking, dragging things out, and ultimately avoiding accountability. That's why this exchange feels less like a good faith debate and more like a setup. Listen to how the congressman keeps pressing the same point, not to learn anything new, but to build a narrative. He even says out loud that he's making a clean record for court. That tells you everything. This isn't about transparency. It's about shielding the political class and creating excuses after the fact. And let's talk about the hypocrisy here. When Democrats were issuing subpoenas to President Trump, they didn't care about accommodation. They didn't pause to negotiate. They didn't worry about executive privilege or separation of powers. They subpoenaed first, accused obstruction second, and let the courts sort out later. Now suddenly, they want to act like constitutional scholars because the spotlight isn't on their side. Jim Jordan didn't dodge questions in this exchange. He didn't pretend correspondence existed when it didn't. He answered honestly. The White House raised concerns 2 days earlier, and until then there was nothing to respond to. That's not misconduct. That's straightforward, transparent leadership. He also didn't rule out engagement going forward. He simply refused to play mind reader and preemptively asked permission before any issue was raised. Then comes the irony that's hard to miss. The same member lecturing about subpoenas and compliance throws out a jab about Jim Jordan allegedly being in contempt himself. Coming from a party that spent years ignoring subpoenas, slow-walking testimony, and protecting officials from accountability, that criticism rings hollow. This matters far beyond one hearing. If Congress has to get approval from the executive branch before investigating anything that even touches executive power, then oversight is dead, checks and balances collapse, and unelected bureaucrats end up running the show. That's not how our system is supposed to work. Jim Jordan understands that, and that's exactly why he's under constant attack. The left doesn't challenge him on facts, so they fall back on procedural smokescreens. But at the end of the day, he's doing what he promised voters he would do, standing up to the Washington machine, demanding answers, and refusing to let accountability be delayed into oblivion. If you believe Congress should actually investigate wrongdoing, if you believe subpoenas should mean something, and if you believe no one, not even the White House, is above scrutiny, then Jim Jordan is on the right side of this fight. God bless you. God bless this country, and God bless the United States of America. United States, if you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes the Constitution matters.